Hey guys, hope you're good. Max here from MHS Prod for a new incredible Houdini tutorial. We will learn how we can create this kind of abstract visual. It will be a really beginner tutorial oriented. We will see how we can start from scratch to the animation of those patterns, and also we will cover rendering directly inside of Houdini with Redshift. And it's a pretty new topic in the channel because the latest tutorial I made were only focused on the Houdini part and were not covering rendering. So you can really have an idea of the global workflow I use in Houdini. If you enjoy or discover this channel, please join our Facebook group called Motion Designers Community. You will be able to share your work, meet motion designers, give feedbacks, and have a great experience. Now let's dive in Houdini. I assume that you're a beginner, so I will try to explain as much as possible what I'm doing. So let's click here and hit Alt at the same time. So we will have a different layout. It will be useful as we are focusing on one screen. If you use two or more screens, I will suggest to go here and, for example, tear off a pane tab or a pane tab copy, so you can have like a bigger network and work with several pane tab. So usually I use like the classical layout, and I just like tear off the network on another screen, and I open like the Redshift render view and have the Redshift render view on another screen. So basically I'm using three screens for my setup, but for the tutorial we will focus only on one screen. So we will start by creating a grid. We can click here and hit enter. You can also directly go into your network and hit the tab key and type grid, and you will be able to create a grid. So now we will double click and dive into the network. So we see here we are in object, grid object network, and here you can see that several network exist. One for animation, one for compositing, one for the material, one for the object, one for the rendering settings. This is still used for materials, used for stage design, and that's not stage design. I would say like layout and creating a scene. So it's pretty new in Houdini. I try to be not confusing if it's your first start, but that's where things happens. And you can have like several network, like you can have infinite number of networks. So I can create operation in my grid, but I can also create operation in my torus, and I can create another, let's say, another grid in my torus space. So that's pretty fun to work like that because it's pretty uncommon. It works like this is like scenes, and you can build a lot of things into different scenes. So it's a bit different like if you use Cinema 4D. So let's go to our grid, and you may know, or you probably heard, that the principle of Houdini is working with nodes. So every operation that we will do is based on nodes. So for example, if I want to extrude, I will use a poly extrude, and if I go to my poly extrude, you'll see that I can extrude, and that's pretty fun. And if I, for example, create an inset, you can see what it does, and if I select, for example, individual elements, you can see what it does. And so if after the extrude, for example, I add a color, I can change the color. I'm just quickly explaining the principle. You don't need basically to do what I'm doing, but here you have an idea of what I'm doing, and most of the things you do are stored as attribute. For example, if I middle click here, you can see that I have a point attribute called CD and another one called P. And for example, we will be able to take our point attribute CD and use it to grab the color information into Redshift render, which is pretty awesome. So that's the principle. Now let's create our effect and see how we can animate and how we can grab the color and all that stuff. So we'll start by maybe creating some variation to our scene. We can create a node called Facet. And Facet is a pretty interesting node as it will allow me to create several operations. We commonly use this node most of the time to post-compute normals or cast polygons or create unique points. And the unique points operation will allow me to control individually each little polygons, which is nice. Let me explain and show you something. I will use the primitive node, and I will be able to do transformation. And for example, if I scale down everything, you can see that I'm scaling down each little polygon. It's exactly the polyfx. It works like the polyfx in C40, and it's you can see here if I'm just like trying to scale, you can see that it's making some kind of weird stuff. It's because I'm not using the unique points per any vertex. So one nice thing is also that you have a small explanation if you use your mouse. So let's maybe go here and try to create a more interesting setup. Maybe let's go like that. I'm pretty happy with it at the moment because we will do some kind of close-up. And now what we want to do is to poly extrude everything. But we want to create variation in color and also in terms of scale. So here you can see it's pretty big, and I want some randomness into the extrusion. So I can use in Houdini attributes to control pretty much a lot of things. So let's take a look at what we have into our poly extrude node. We'll have a lot of options. For example, here I can output front and output backs, so pretty easy to understand. And I can create groups, for example, extrude front, extrude back. So if I create extrude front, let's say I want to create another extrude, poly extrude. So let's go to poly extrude. I can just extrude one group. So let's say poly extrude. I can grab my extrude front, and it will create an extrude only based on the front group. Pretty awesome. It can be even more clear if I can create, for example, a group node. Let's go to group, and it's in primitive, and let maybe if I select only 1 to 50, and if for example if I add here new poly extrude group 1, you can see it's only extruding the stuff in this group. So you can see pretty awesome. So let's go back in our poly extrude and let's create some variation, because we will be able to control the intensity of our extrusion with an attribute. It's called an attribute distance scale called z-scale. So I need to activate it. So I have now the z-scale, and I can basically apply values to this scale, and I can create those values with color information. For someone new to Houdini, it's pretty awesome and strange to think like that, but you will quickly understand how it works, and it's not like really that different that the shader effector, for example, in Cinema 4D. So it's pretty, what we will do is pretty easy to understand. There's no way to think that it's complicated. So let's create something called the point, maybe the primitive, because we want to create impose on the primitives. So this will be considered as primitives. And let's try to create some variation. So let's dive into our primitive VOP. And we can see that here we have a bunch of attributes like position, velocity, force, age, PTNum, and here we have some output attributes, but we can also create our own output attributes by using bind export node. So I can here type this scale, and it's exactly the same thing that having this another dot here. So don't be confused. That's not always useful. You can also create your own export parameter, and here if you want to use an attribute that's not written here, you can use, for example, bind, not bind export, bind, simple bind, or you can use for example import point attribute or import primitive attribute. You have a bunch of stuff. So another interesting thing is you see that we have some kind of colors. Here, for example, we have some kind of blue. Here we have some green value. It's to give you like an info about the nature of our attribute. Here we can see that it's a vector, so it means that it's a combination of 3 values, but here it's an integer, so it's only one value with integer, so it means it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't have like commas and other numbers. And here it's a float, so it means that it could go from 0 to any number, or minus any number, and you can have like commas, and it could be like 0.002, 0.0, etc. So pretty easy to understand. And the latest thing is that you can, for example, convert value, so you can change a vector to a float. So if, for example, I go and select vector to float, and for example I take like position, we could imagine that it's x, y, z, or if we take like, for example, the color, we can imagine that it's red, green, blue. So I hope I'm pretty clear in what I'm explaining, because I try to imagine that you are discovering Houdini for the first time. So I try to explain what I would love to discover when I started Houdini. Okay, so now let's create something pretty simple. Let's create a noise. We can maybe choose a turbulent noise, and let's keep this noise to 1D noise. Let's grab our position here, and let's dive the position into the city, the color, and we'll see that we have some kind of variation here. What we can do is also put it into the Z scale, and we can already see some changes. Now I can control here by changing, for example, the frequency and all that stuff, but the thing that I will miss if I'm going back here, I can't like really control stuff. So how do I create more controls on my nodes in Houdini? I can promote parameters. So what we will do is right click here, and we'll go to VexVop options. Let's say VexVop option, and we can like create input parameters, and basically it will create some parameters for each those little things, and I will be able to access all those infos here. So right now I can like change something and just see what I'm doing here. If I want to get rid of that, I can, for example, go here, edit parameter interface, and I can select that, and for example, click on invisible, click apply. I can add separators, I can create groups. So just as an example, you don't need to do that, but it's just to explain how it works. Let's say I have some stuff into the first folder, and I create another folder here, and let's call that folder 2, and let's put that into the folder 2. If I click apply, you'll see that here I have like two little tabs. So basically it's like building your own tools with the controls and all that stuff. So that's pretty awesome. It can remind you of Espresso and data controls in Cinema 4D, but in a way maybe it's easier, even easier, I think, to control, because like everything in Houdini is built like with parameters, nodes, and it's more intuitive, I guess. And I'm come from Cinema 4D. I've made like years of Cinema 4D, so I'm not trying to convince you that Houdini is like super simple. I'm already convinced because I'm coming from Cinema 4D. If you follow the channel, you probably know that. So, okay, I have all those parameters, and again, I can like change stuff easily like that. Maybe amplitude, noise type. So I can make really my own stuff. Let's see how we can go further. Just a really simple example, but let's say I want to be able to put on and off the color, let's say that. I can like go to switch, two-way switch, and let's put that maybe here. Let's put that here. Let's add a constant. Let's put that here, and let's put the value of 1. And here for the condition, I can create a switch. So let's promote that. And here, so to promote, I need to create to middle click, because you have like right click, left click, and middle click. Sorry if I forgot to mention this, but I can promote that. And here you can choose like the way it's working. So type it's integer, so it means it's 0 or 1 or more. So 0 is like not activated and 1 is activated. But I can also use a toggle, and toggle is pretty fun. So let's dive back. Let's create maybe separator, just to be sure that we see what we do. Here we can change the name, so let's say color activation. Let's say color activation, and let's go back in here, color activation. So we can really create a bunch of stuff. And of course, here I have my color, and I can like drive my z-scale. But the nice thing is I can still drive my z-scale without color. And then I can again add a color. So if I go to color, I can choose to create my own color right now, and that's great, you know. That's great. I love that, all the controls you can do. So we can also animate it, for example, using the offset. So I can put keyframes, and there's two ways to animate in Houdini. I can, for example, animate all those parameters. I can also use same as in Cinema 4D relative reference. So I can like right click. It's even easier. It's like driven parameter, if you remember, if you use Cinema 4D. But here I can like copy parameter and right click, paste relative reference and paste relative reference. Now I can like alt click here. Let's maybe go to here and let's put another value, let's say 2. Let's alt click again and I have basically my animation. It's pretty fast because Houdini is going really fast. So if I want to play near the real time, I need to go here and toggle here. So it's incredibly fast. I can also control the curve. If, for example, if I click Shift and click, I can like open the curve editor and can select that, maybe make it linear. I can maybe change it. I can like change stuff like that. I can also access my animation editor by going here, but I will not use that. So I will right click, delete channel. I can also use expression in Houdini, and that's what I love. So I will click, for example, $F, it means for every frame, and let's say divided by 200, and let's see what it does. It will be animated based on that small expression. It's like the time expression in After Effects, and you'll see that I will have an animation even like if I'm increasing the timeline, and if I add more time, I will still see what's going on. So it's pretty awesome. So here I need also to delete channel. So $F divided by 100. Oh, okay. I still have a keyframe here. I thought it was a mistake, but that's not a mistake. So you can see how I can like control stuff. And what I want to do now is maybe to see how we can play with that in Redshift. And Redshift will basically use point attribute. So here we can see that we have like CD, but CD here is a primitive attribute, so I can't use it into Redshift. There's two ways to do that, but most simple way is like using an attribute promote, and you can give a promotion to an attribute. So we can say that a primitive attribute is going to be a point attribute, and let's say it's CD. And now let's click here, and we can see we have 2 point attribute, one called CD, another one called P. So we are going here from CD as a primitive, and here CD as a point. And remember that in Redshift we can use CD as point attribute, but I don't think, correct me Redshift guy if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure we can use primitive attribute. I think we can only use point attributes. And now I can create more variation if I want to have more controls. Maybe let's click here and give another color to the nodes. Maybe let's say it's a pink node. And I can also add notes for my collaborators. Maybe I can like put this as a pink note, and let's say controls are over pink notes. So every person that will jump into your file, and you can be like a setup artist, you don't need to do like everything by yourself in Houdini. You can basically create a setup and let another person like just tweak it, render it, export it to Cinema 4D, make the change for the client. So you basically create a setup and let other artists play with it. So controls are over pink nodes, and let's create another control nodes. Maybe put this one as pink node 2 because we can control that. But again, maybe not, because we can control like the extrude with the amplitude. I don't know. Let's put that as pink, and basically we can also control some stuff here. But just to let you know that we can like add nodes, and we can also create more stuff. We can also create groups. Yes, we can create groups, and we can survive. Don't touch, maybe if you are working with a cinema for the artist. And okay, don't touch, maybe. So the person that will dive in your setup will know that it should be like change here, but here no. Okay, so it's just like infos. You don't need to do that in the tutorial, but it's just to explain a bit how it works. And now let's create another control, and now let's create a point VOP, because we want to control city, and here city is a point attribute. Let's go here, let's go here, let's mask all that. Hit shift, invisible, apply, accept, and we can color controls, and here extrude controls maybe, and here pink color. Let's dive into it, and we can create a ramp parameter. Let's plug CD into here and CD into here, and let's label that colors, and let's go back here, and here I should be able to change stuff. So maybe I can add here some kind of gradient. And the really nice thing is that I will be able to take all those infos in Redshift, and that's the magic. That's the magic of it. So let's say that is nice. Basically, you can create anything, and it will change with the extrusion. It's pretty awesome. Let's go to extrude control and put 1 as an amplitude, and let's create a pretty fun effect. Maybe put that here, put that here. I want more, maybe more orange, just to create a cool effect, cool Mograph effect. And now I want to render that. Yep, that's nice. I love that. So I suggest to save it because it could crash. And now let's use Redshift. So Redshift is pretty awesome, and it's pretty the same way to use it into Houdini than Cinema 4D. I will click here and activate my afterburner. If you use like GPU rendering, I highly suggest to have a control over your fans. So here I'm using this small program called MSI afterburner. Again, excuse my French. And I can like change the fan speed and all that stuff. So let's go here, and let's go to Redshift tab, and let's click here. What this will do is it will create into my out a Redshift node, a Redshift IPR node, and it will also create a camera and link my camera. So it's basically create a bunch of operation for me really quickly. So see, Redshift ROP, Redshift IPR, and if I go here, oh, I don't have camera. Okay, maybe I will need to create my own camera. So maybe let's create a camera, and let's go to our out, and here, okay, I need to type camera. So yeah, cam1. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. But if I change the name, I can like dive from one camera to another. So I can really set up a bunch of cameras and have everything into one file. So Now let's do a few changes. Let's go into outputs, and we can like here change where this will be saved. So I can just for the tutorial save it as PNG. You need to change it as PNGs, and basically this will render the frame in the place where you have your file stored in folder called render. So I can like call that tutorial. Tutorial. It will take the name of the file and it will basically add numbers. It will render each frame and add some numbers, like frame 0 will be 0, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 0, 1, etc, etc. So pretty useful to set up. Here we can set our paces or AOV, but I don't want AOV at the moment. I will click on Redshift, and here into the setting I can like use the unified sampling stuff. So I will just add more samples, maybe that, and I will increase a bit the adaptive threshold. So this is not a Redshift tutorial. We have a bunch on the YouTube channel, so that don't be lost. We'll just add global illumination, so brute force, irradiance, pan cloud. Let's add more brute force GI. And here in the system, I will also click on enable automatic sampling, which is a nice new feature that will allow to have like more sampling in some areas. It's pretty awesome. And I think that's all. Let's just open our render view at the moment. I will put it in another screen because I will not render it, because I need lighting, and I will need to go into my camera. So let's go here, let's go to cam, and let's go to tie view to camera light. So here I can really create something like a angle of view. I can also go to my camera. I can also switch, for example, if I open here, and I can like have my camera here, and for example my redshift parameter here. I can quickly go from here to my camera without having the need of going here, then here, then here. So it's pretty nice to do that. In my camera, I will maybe change the parameter, so it will be like HG, and I can create also fun deformation. For example, if I put a super big focal length, it cool looks a bit like some kind of isometric stuff. Again, do what you want. It's just a tutorial, so just want to explain how it works. Like that is fine. Like that is just super fine. And then we can click here and see what happened, and we can see that it will be pretty much horrible. So we will need to tweak a bit stuff. Yep, that's horrible. That's horrible for several reasons. That's horrible maybe because we don't have normals, and that's horrible because we don't have light and colors. So first thing we will do is go into our object, and let's add normal. Maybe we'll add normals here, and let's see if it fixes our problem. It fixed a bit the problem, so that's nice. Now let's add a light. So I can go back into my object, and I have here several lights. Let's use a HDRI, so RS light dome. And by going into the RS light dome, I can go to light and select a dome map. So basically you want to load an EXR or an HDR file. So I will basically load a file. Basically you can load the one you want. I can disable the background, and I can like disable it into the viewport. I can also kill some kind of lighting if I don't want the impact of lighting in my scene. So sometimes it's easier to understand what's going on just by having something clean here. So let's see now what's going on. Ooh, that's pretty better. And now we will create a material. And I want the colors on my material. So what I will do is go into my matte, and I will create a RS material builder. And let's call that matte. Let's go back into our obj, grid obj, and to render, I will need to select a material. So let's go here and let's select our matte. Okay. Now if I click, still nothing in terms of colors. So how do I pick my colors? You'll see it's pretty awesome. Let's go to matte and let's dive into the VAP, and I will create a RS material. It's working like Cinema 4D. You will have all your properties, coding, overall, subsurface coloring. So just gonna connect the out color to the surface. And again, I will still not have colors. What I will need to do is append a node called RS point attribute. And here I can just type CD. And I can plug my CD or any of my point attribute, could be my own attribute. I can create gradient and gradient or UVs or anything to like apply color. And I can, for example, create an attribute CD or CD2. One is black and white and another one like is, you understand the principle. And here I just plug the color into the diffuse color. It's still the basic Redshift material, but what I will see here is my colors. Awesome. Here we can see the reflection and all that stuff, and now I can like control everything here. So let's go here. I can like you know, play with the roughness. You'll see it's changing stuff, and then I just need to play, you know. So I will not play that much. I'm just here today to explain the principle, but I don't want to spend too much time. What we will do now is go into the camera, and here into the camera I have fun things to do. So let's click in Redshift camera, and you can see I have depth of field, photographic exposure, post-effects, lens distortion. So first, let's add some depth of field, and boom, that's horrible. But now, thanks Redshift dev team, I have like a peak focus. So I can just unclick that, go here, click to focus, and I will click to create a focus. Pretty awesome, right? And now I can like control the power, the radius. So let's have lower radius, and that's looking fine to me. And here that's a progressive render, but I can choose to have like my final render just by clicking here, and it will calculate the GI, and it will calculate the everything with more precision. And I can also create some fit window stuff, so it will be faster to calculate. So what I could do too is photographic exposure, and I can like control the exposure of it. It's interesting controls. I can like choose a white point, for example. I can kill a bit some maybe orangey colors. I can like just select, play with some parameters. For example, if I want like some bluish black, which I love to have like blue in the shadows, I can do that. I can play with the vignetting, but it's not that useful. And a parameter, you can also play with saturation, and black crush threshold is pretty nice. You can crush down some black, so pretty fun. And post effects, everybody love post effects, and you can add, for example, a LUT. Let's see if I have a LUT here. I don't, yeah, 3DL file. I can apply a bit of the LUT. Again, you can do all that in post, but just to show you that it's possible here. I can control exposure, contrast. I can enable the bloom. Every Octane artist is asking for a bloom. Please, let's add bloom in Redshift. And everybody first was like, no, this is the daily render trend happening in Redshift. We don't want that. And that's cool. I must admit that it's cool. It's pretty awesome. It's nice looking. And yep. So I guess that's how it works. I don't think I've missed something. Here I can like change the color if I want. Let's decide to change that in blue. I think it will be, oh, that's nice, in pink. That's awesome. And here let's select the blue, so you see how fast and how nice it is to play with that. And you know, it's all animated. And if I want, the only latest trick that I can show to you is how I can like render another parameter like a floor. For example, you will see that let's pick focus here. I don't have like a material here, and if I want like to have another material in Houdini, you need to have another scene. So for example, if I create a grid here as a floor, I will not be able to apply a material to this and this, so I need to create it in a separate file, or I can like create a grid here, maybe call that floor, and I need to go here. Let's create like a geo node. I can create like a object merge, and here I can like merge my floor. Yeah, I think that's that. And here I have my floor, and I will be able to apply a material to my other objects. So that's how it works. You need to have separate networks for each material. So here, let's create another material just to be sure. RS. I can still create an RS material like that, but RS material builder is something nice. So let's call that maybe floor, and here I can create a RS material. Just to be sure, let's change the color to something ugly. Let's plug it into a surface. Remember, we need to go here in the floor, render. I need to select a material. Let's click accept. And now if we just disable the stuff, just to be sure that we see what's going on. And you see, here I have my my floor and my object. So I can like now control only the floor material by going here, and I can control in a separate way the this material. So pretty awesome. I love like Redshift and Houdini. It's something really fun to use, really amazing. Like I love to use that. Maybe I will use that as a thumbnail for my tutorial. Do you think it's cool? I don't know. I planned to use the first one I show you, but I must say that I'm not sure it's super eye-catchy. I must imagine that this would work more on YouTube. I don't know. So let's go to original size, and I will be lazy today. So just go here, wait for the calculation. Let's go here, and I will simply save the image as so PNG tutorial. And the thing is, if I want to render everything, I need to go in my HUD, and here click to render to disk, and of course can like render frame range, select my frame range, and open render view, and it will render the animation, which is pretty awesome. But now I will not show all that to you. I will launch After Effects just to show you the few little stuff that I can create to like make this picture better. And I think it will be all for today. And if you're new like to Houdini, I highly suggest you to check out. I've made a bunch of tutorials on Patreon to create maybe those not maybe to create those awesome frames. You can also create those super nice donuts visual, those kind of stuff. And it's pretty like beginner oriented tutorials for Mograph artists. Like I'm not a VFX guy. I'm totally sucks in VFX, but I show you how you can create this kind of stuff, and I must say it's pretty nice. I love that. That is nice. That is nice too. So if you want, please check out Motion Designers Community Patreon, and you have like hours and hours of basic tutorial about how we can create nice stuff. You have bunch of stuff. I also show you how you can combine Houdini with this X particles, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. And it's only like $9 to have more than 10 hours of tutorials, which is like I think the cheapest price you can find on internet to learn really properly Houdini. As a Mograph artist again, I'm not a VFX artist, so you will not learn how to make explosion. So let's plug that here. I said plug, but it's not actually plugging here. Let's save that, close that, and let's make few changes. Maybe I want to control maybe my curves. Maybe I want like more visibility, maybe like that, so you can see it's more visible. I love to sharpen my image, so I will use a finisher from Red Giant, and you can see it's pretty awesome, like how it sharpened the image. So you can see the difference. It's just super clear right now. Let's already compare. So it's maybe a bit too much, but you know it will be a YouTube thumbnail, so I need to create more details. I can also use the basic sharpen effect. Sometimes it works well, sometimes not. Let's see if it really changes something. Yep, it helps actually. It helps to create more stuff. And I will add a vignette, CC vignette. Always nice to have vignettes. I will add a bit more glow because everybody loves glows. You know, glows. They are awesome. Maybe a big one, really with a small intensity, and maybe duplicate that, and let's have the classic one with more intensity. So it's popping. You know, it's maybe too much neon, but you know, I want people click on my video. And what I could do is maybe also add some kind of magic bullet looks color correction. Awesome plugin. Awesome plugin. So let's see what I could do. I love this one. Can add more stuff, maybe and distortion, you know, it's always fun. You can play a beat. I'm not sure for chromatic aberration, maybe Mojo Mojo is nice. Oh, Mojo is too powerful here. Not sure it's an interesting ID maybe with a lower value. Oh, that's pretty bad. Let's get rid of the lens distortion and let's, let's get. Is it good? Yep. So it's just popping a little more, so I think it will help people to maybe click on the thumbnail. I hope so. I'm not sure. Again, I'm like experimenting. Maybe I will choose the black and white image. I don't know. So you guys learned today your first, maybe one of your first Houdini tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, please go to YouTube, and in YouTube feel free to type motion designers Houdini, and you'll find some fun videos or tutorials. You see those two free tutorials that I made, and they are like pretty awesome. You you can see that even self-liking my videos. I That's awesome. That's awesome. Everybody should love um, his home stuff. I can. Okay, let's say nice. So my deepest secret. I'm liking my own videos, and that's not a shame. That's not a shame. Love yourself. Love what you do. And yeah, just all that to say, please take a look at our channel. Please take a look at our tutorials and enjoy what's done here. A bunch of awesome content, and yeah, so much stuff that you can learn from. You even have like the Beeple pretty face here. Interviews with artists, cinema 4D tutorials, so much stuff. Please just come and enjoy. See you guys. Thanks again for watching the video. Feel free to basically subscribe to everything, join the groups, and leave a comment, a like, blah blah blah, and see you next time.